What if I told you, the difference between a luxury car and a regular car isn't just about horsepower, leather seats, or shiny logos? What if the real difference lies hidden inside the lives of the people who drive them? Imagine this. Two people start their morning. One slides into a car so silent it feels like floating. The other struggles with a rusty ignition, praying the engine doesn't betray them today. At first glance, it seems obvious who has the better life. But what if I told you, appearances deceive? Because the truth is, money doesn't just buy cars. It buys time, it buys mental freedom, and sometimes, it buys isolation. Poverty doesn't just strip away luxury. It strips away peace of mind, leaving behind a constant background noise of worry. So here's the real question. When the rich step into their polished machines and the poor grind through traffic in beat-up sedans, are they really living in two different worlds? Or are both carrying invisible burdens we rarely notice? By the end of this story, you'll see that the steering wheel may be different, but the ride of life? That's where the real contrast begins. Number 1. Behind the wheel of identity. Do cars define who we are? Suspenseful question. When someone pulls up beside you at a traffic light, what do you notice first? The car, or the person inside? The rich. For the wealthy, a luxury car is rarely just transportation. It's identity on wheels. Sliding into a Bentley or a Rolls-Royce feels like stepping into a different universe. The leather is softer than most people's furniture. The silence inside the cabin almost eerie. These machines are designed not only to move the body but to elevate the status of the soul. To the rich, the car whispers, "You've made it." Every detail, from the emblem on the hood to the purr of the engine, reinforces the narrative of success. But here's the hidden truth. Sometimes that car isn't just a choice. It's an expectation. Among the elite, driving a regular sedan might invite judgment, whispers, or raised eyebrows. The car becomes a silent resume, announcing one's place in the hierarchy of wealth. Yet beneath this glossy identity lies an invisible pressure. What happens when a billionaire pulls up in a Toyota? Suddenly, their credibility is questioned. In this world, the car doesn't just represent comfort. It represents reputation, and reputation can feel like a prison. The poor. Now shift the lens. For someone living paycheck to paycheck, a car often becomes more than identity, it's survival. The rust on the door isn't a flaw, it's a reminder of every sacrifice made to keep it running. The cracked seats, the faint smell of gasoline, the loud hum of an overworked engine, all of it carries stories of late-night shifts, emergency loans, and desperate repairs done in the driveway with borrowed tools. Here the car doesn't whisper you've made it, it screams you're still trying. And yet, there's resilience in that scream. A car for the poor is a lifeline to work, school, groceries, doctor appointments. Without it, life collapses. But there's another emotional layer, shame. When parking next to sleek luxury cars, there's the quiet fear of being judged, of being invisible, of being labeled as less. While the rich may feel trapped by expectations, the poor often feel trapped by stigma. Comparison. Here lies the paradox. For the rich, cars define identity through status. For the poor, cars define identity through struggle. Both sides carry weight, just painted in different colors. When you see a luxury car glide past, you might assume the driver is carefree. But maybe they're suffocating under social expectations, constantly trying to live up to the identity their car demands. And when you see a battered car coughing through traffic, you might assume the driver is failing. But maybe they're carrying more strength, resilience, and determination than anyone around them realizes. So, do cars define us, or do we define the cars we drive? The answer isn't simple. And as we'll see, the car is only the beginning of a much larger journey. But what if I told you, the real difference isn't in the car at all but in the time it steals, or gives back? Number 2. Time on the road, whose journey truly feels longer? Suspenseful question, who spends more of their life trapped behind the wheel? The rich in their luxury sedans or the poor in their aging cars? The rich. For the wealthy, time on the road often feels optional. Many hire chauffeurs, allowing them to answer emails, take calls, or simply relax while someone else navigates traffic. Even when they drive themselves, the ride feels less like a burden and more like an experience. Smooth suspension, noise-canceling technology, and advanced navigation systems turn commutes into retreats. Time for them becomes fluid. Sitting in a Mercedes feels like being cocooned from the world's chaos. The car doesn't just move them forward, it shields them from exhaustion. The road, with all its frustrations, feels less demanding when you're massaged by your seat and entertained by a surround sound system. But here's the twist, wealthy drivers often drive less. They live closer to city centers, to work, to schools, to the best restaurants. Luxury isn't just in the car, it's in the location. Their time on the road is shorter, smoother, and less consuming. The poor. For those struggling, time on the road feels heavier. Long commutes are common because affordable housing rarely exists near high-paying jobs. Hours are spent in traffic, with engines overheating, radios crackling, and gas tanks running on fumes. The car isn't a cocoon, it's a battlefield. Imagine finishing a 12-hour shift, only to sit another 2 hours in bumper-to-bumper traffic in a car with no air conditioning. Imagine praying that the rattling sound doesn't turn into a breakdown because towing fees could erase half your paycheck. Time in the car doesn't feel optional, it feels stolen. And unlike the wealthy who can use travel time productively, the poor rarely can. Driving demands full attention, leaving no space to work, rest, or recover. Their minutes are eaten alive by the road, and each hour behind the wheel is another reminder of the inequality of time. Comparison. Here lies one of the cruelest contrasts. Wealth turns cars into time machines. Shorter journeys, less stress, even multitasking while moving. Poverty turns cars into cages of wasted time, draining hours, energy, and opportunities. The rich save time. The poor lose it. But here's the haunting question. If time is life, who's really paying the higher cost? And what if I told you, comfort isn't measured by the brand of the car, but by the way it feels to sit inside one day after day? Number 3. Comfort or compromise? What does driving really feel like? Suspenseful question. When you sit behind the wheel, is your car embracing you, or exhausting you? The rich. Luxury cars redefine the meaning of comfort. Temperature-controlled seats, whisper-quiet engines, even fragrances built into the air vents, all designed to soothe, to impress, to erase the stress of the outside world. For the rich, driving can feel therapeutic. The car doesn't just carry them, it pampers them. Yet there's a hidden truth here. When every ride is wrapped in comfort, small discomforts in life can feel magnified. A bumpy road, a traffic jam, or even a scratched rim may trigger frustration far beyond what most people would feel. Comfort, when constant, becomes expectation. And expectations always come with fragility. The poor. For the poor, driving is often an exercise in compromise. Torn seats, broken air conditioning, stiff steering, constant noise. Comfort isn't the norm, it's the dream. Every drive is a negotiation, between what works and what doesn't, between safety and necessity. And yet, there's resilience here. Comfort isn't expected, so small wins feel bigger. A working heater in winter, a borrowed Bluetooth speaker for music, a car that finally passes inspection. These bring real, raw joy. For the poor, comfort isn't assumed. It's earned. Comparison. Luxury transforms cars into sanctuaries. Poverty transforms cars into survival tools. One cushions life's edges, the other sharpens them. And so, when it comes to comfort, the irony is this. The wealthy are protected but fragile. The poor are exposed but resilient. Which raises the question, if resilience is forged in discomfort, who ends up stronger in the end? But before we answer that, let's step into a deeper question. Whose nights are truly restful? The ones cushioned by safety or the ones haunted by risk? Number 4. Safety versus risk. Who sleeps better at night? Suspenseful question. When the engine is off and the night is quiet, who really feels safe? The rich with their luxury cars or the poor with their fragile rides? The rich. For the wealthy, safety is not just a feature, it's a guarantee. Their cars are packed with sensors, cameras, emergency braking, lane assists, blind spot monitors, and even self-driving capabilities. Each drive is wrapped in an invisible shield of technology, reducing the chances of accidents. The car itself becomes a fortress. But safety for the rich extends beyond physical protection. It offers peace of mind. They can afford comprehensive insurance, roadside assistance, and brand-certified service centers. Something goes wrong, there's always a cushion, financially and emotionally. Yet there's a deeper layer. Safety, once guaranteed, becomes something else. Fear of losing it. A luxury car can be a target for theft, vandalism, or envy. Every parking spot is chosen with calculation, every valet handover done with hesitation. Instead of freedom, safety sometimes transforms into paranoia. The poor. Now, for someone struggling, safety is never certain. Their cars often lack airbags, working seatbelts, or even reliable brakes. Repairs are delayed, sometimes ignored, because the cost of fixing a car competes with the cost of food, rent, or medicine. Each drive is shadowed by silent risks. Insurance? Often the bare minimum. Roadside assistance? A luxury. When the car breaks down, the poor rely on friends, neighbors, or luck. Safety for them is not a guarantee, it's a gamble. And the emotional toll? Immense. Every time a mother buckles her child into a car seat inside a 20-year-old sedan, she drives with silent prayers. Every highway trip feels like a negotiation with fate. For the poor, risk is not occasional, it's constant. Comparison. Luxury offers security. Poverty forces vulnerability. One sleeps at night knowing help is a phone call away. The other lies awake worrying if the car will start tomorrow, or if the next breakdown will cost more than survival can afford. But here's the twist. Safety is not just mechanical, it's psychological. And when safety becomes a privilege, the very idea of driving takes on two completely different meanings. Which brings us to the next question. Is driving just about reaching a destination, or is it about the story your car tells the world? Number 5. Social signals. What story does your car tell about you? Suspenseful question. When you drive past strangers, when you pull up at work, when you arrive at a gathering, what story does your car tell before you even step out? The rich. For the wealthy, cars are often social signals projecting power, taste, and success. A Ferrari isn't just a machine, it's a statement. A Tesla doesn't just transport, it signals innovation, environmental awareness, or modern luxury. In elite circles, the car one drives can quietly reveal more than words ever could. But this power comes with its own trap. The luxury car is not just admired, it's judged. Peers read status into every detail. A new Bentley may say, success, but an outdated model might whisper, falling behind. The pressure is relentless. Even the rich can feel enslaved by the very symbols they own. The poor. For the poor, cars tell a different story. A beat-up vehicle may scream struggle, even when the driver inside is hardworking, intelligent, and full of dignity. A broken bumper or peeling paint becomes a social scar, one that unfairly brands the person behind the wheel. And yet, sometimes that same car tells a story of resilience. A father driving his worn-out sedan to 3 jobs. A student arriving at college in a car held together by duct tape and determination. Their vehicles may not inspire envy, but they inspire survival. Comparison. Here lies the irony. The rich drive cars that demand respect but sometimes imprison them in judgment. The poor drive cars that invite stigma but often symbolize strength. Both groups are misunderstood, their true stories hidden beneath the paint, the shine, or the rust. So, the question lingers, do we drive cars, or do cars drive the way others see us? But beneath this social story lies something more practical, more pressing. Because no matter how a car looks, it's the hidden costs that truly shape the journey. Number 6. Maintenance and money. Who pays the hidden price? Suspenseful question. What's more painful, spending thousands to maintain luxury, or scraping together hundreds to keep a fragile car alive? The rich. For the wealthy, maintenance costs are high but manageable. A routine service for a Lamborghini can cost more than an entire used car. Tires alone might cost more than a month's salary for the average worker. But for the rich, these expenses are absorbed like background noise. They pay for convenience, for warranty protection, for certified dealers. Still, even here lies frustration. Wealthy car owners often complain about inflated costs, unnecessary repairs, and the endless bills that come with luxury ownership. It may not break their bank, but it eats at their trust, their patience, their sense of fairness. In some ways, their money shields them, but it also makes them targets. The poor. For the poor, maintenance is a battlefield. A flat tire isn't an inconvenience, it's a crisis. An oil change isn't routine, it's a negotiation with the wallet. Each breakdown threatens not just the car but survival itself. Repairs are delayed, corners are cut, cheap parts replace quality. Some even risk driving unsafe cars because the alternative is missing work. A single repair can spiral into debt, loans, or sacrifices in food and bills. The poor don't just pay money, they pay with stress, with dignity, with health. Comparison. Luxury drains money but survival drains soul. The rich can complain about a $5,000 repair, but the poor collapse under a $500 one. The irony is clear, the wealthy lose comfort while the poor risk everything. And so the question emerges, who really pays the higher price, the one who spends more, or the one who has more to lose? But beyond money, beyond mechanics, driving carries something deeper, a promise of freedom. Yet for some, that promise feels more like a trap. Number 7. Escape or trap. Does driving bring freedom or pressure? Suspenseful question. When the wheels start turning, does the car set you free, or does it quietly chain you down? The rich. For the wealthy, cars can symbolize liberation. Imagine sliding into a Lamborghini on a weekend morning, feeling the roar of the engine vibrate through your chest, the open road ahead like an invitation to fly. In moments like these, the car feels like pure freedom, control, speed, escape from the weight of life's responsibilities. But here's the hidden truth. freedom often comes with pressure. Luxury cars are rarely just about enjoyment, they are expectations on four wheels. A CEO buying a modest vehicle may appear cheap in the eyes of peers. The car becomes a performance, a role they're required to play. Suddenly, even a joyride feels like maintaining an image. And sometimes, the luxury car isn't a tool of escape, it's a golden cage. You can't leave it unattended, you worry about every scratch, and instead of relaxing, you obsess over protecting the investment. In chasing freedom, the wealthy sometimes find themselves trapped. The poor. For the poor, a car is often a literal escape. It may be the only way out of a bad neighborhood, the bridge to a job in another city, the tool that connects survival to opportunity. A car can mean freedom to dream beyond the limits of public transportation schedules and broken systems. Yet this freedom is fragile. High gas prices, constant breakdowns, and endless repairs turn the dream of mobility into a heavy chain. Instead of opening doors, the car often closes them, forcing trade-offs between filling the tank and buying groceries, between paying for a repair and paying the rent. For the poor, the car is both a savior and a burden. Each mile driven feels like both a victory and a risk. Comparison. The irony is sharp. The rich own cars that promise freedom but often demand performance. The poor own cars that promise survival but often demand sacrifice. Both are trapped, one by image, the other by circumstance. So, is driving truly freedom, or just another version of captivity? And this leads us to an even deeper layer. Beyond freedom and pressure, who actually feels in control when the hands grip the wheel? Number 8. The emotional weight, who feels more in control? Suspenseful question. When life feels heavy, does the car give you power, or remind you of how powerless you really are? The rich. Behind the wheel of a luxury car, control feels absolute. Engines respond to the slightest touch, steering is precise, acceleration effortless. It's as if the machine obeys your every command, magnifying the illusion of control. For the wealthy, this sensation feeds confidence, even power. But here's the paradox. That same control can create fear of losing it. A scratch on the paint, a sudden mechanical failure, or even a minor accident becomes a bigger emotional blow. Not because it's catastrophic, but because it challenges the illusion of perfection. The rich may feel powerful while driving, but that power rests on fragile ground. And there's another emotional layer. Some wealthy individuals confess that their cars make them feel more like caretakers than drivers. Instead of empowering them, the car demands constant attention, pulling emotional energy away from life itself. The poor. For the poor, driving often magnifies helplessness. The lack of power steering, the grinding brakes, the unreliable clutch. Every part of the car seems to remind them that life is out of their control. A breakdown can cost a job, a flat tire can erase a week's pay. The wheel doesn't always respond, sometimes the car itself resists. And yet, when the car does run smoothly, the poor feel a different kind of empowerment. Driving an old car across a long stretch of road with no breakdown can bring pure triumph. Their sense of control is not constant, it's earned, wrestled back from chaos 1 mile at a time. Comparison. For the rich, cars inflate a sense of control, yet make them fragile when it cracks. For the poor, cars strip away control, yet grant deep empowerment when they work against the odds. Both live under emotional weight, but one fears losing power while the other fights to gain it. So, when it comes to control, who really holds the stronger grip? The one who fears cracks in perfection, or the one who survives imperfection daily? But beyond control, beyond comfort, there's one illusion that cars magnify more than anything else: speed. Which side is truly racing ahead? Number 9. The illusion of speed. Who is really getting ahead in life? Suspenseful question. Does driving faster mean living faster, or is speed just another illusion of progress? The rich. Luxury cars are built for speed. The wealthy can press a pedal and feel 600 horsepower surge forward, leaving ordinary cars behind in seconds. On the surface, this looks like life itself: faster, smoother, unstoppable. Driving becomes a metaphor for success, always ahead, always untouchable. But the truth is more complicated. Many wealthy people admit they rarely push their cars to their limits. City streets, traffic lights, and crowded highways turn even the fastest machine into a crawling giant. The illusion of speed sits idling in traffic, as wasted as untapped potential. And here's the hidden irony. While their cars can outrun almost anything, the wealthy themselves cannot outrun the fear of slowing down in life. Speed becomes less about joy, more about proving they're still ahead. The poor. For the poor, speed feels like an impossible luxury. Old engines struggle to accelerate, every climb up a hill feels like a battle, and merging into fast-moving traffic can be terrifying. Driving slowly isn't a choice, it's a limitation. But here's where perspective shifts. Because when every mile feels like a victory, progress, no matter how slow, carries weight. Speed doesn't define success for the poor, persistence does. The finish line may seem far, but each step forward means survival, resilience, and hope. Comparison. The rich have speed but rarely need it. The poor lack speed but value progress more deeply. Luxury creates the illusion of racing ahead, but poverty creates the reality of crawling forward with strength. So, who is really winning the race of life? The one who moves faster, or the one who refuses to stop moving no matter how slow? But before we reach the final stretch, there is one last truth to uncover. The moment when the engine stops and we're left with nothing but ourselves. Number 10, beyond the finish line, what truly matters when the engine stops? Suspenseful question. When the car is parked, the keys are down, and the road is behind you, what remains? The rich. For the wealthy, stepping out of a luxury car often feels like stepping onto a stage. Valets open doors, onlookers stare, and the car continues to speak long after the engine stops. But when the applause of society fades, what remains? Inside private mansions, many wealthy individuals admit to feeling a strange emptiness. The luxury car delivered admiration, but admiration is fleeting. It doesn't soothe loneliness. It doesn't erase the anxiety of maintaining wealth. And it doesn't guarantee happiness. In the silence of night, a Rolls-Royce is still just steel and leather, unable to fill the voids that money cannot touch. The poor. For the poor, stepping out of a car is different. No one is watching, no one applauds. The battered vehicle is often parked in quiet corners or dimly lit streets. Yet, there's a certain dignity here, because the car, no matter how fragile, carried them one step further. Every squeaky brake and every rattle is a reminder that survival continues. It may not bring applause, but it brings resilience. For many, their car isn't a status symbol. It's a lifeline, a quiet companion in the fight to move forward. Comparison. Here lies the ultimate truth. Luxury cars deliver admiration but not fulfillment. Old cars deliver struggle but also resilience. When the engine stops, the difference between rich and poor isn't in horsepower, logos, or shine. It's in what life feels like when the noise fades. And so the haunting question remains, at the end of the journey, what really matters? The car you drove or the life you lived along the way? Conclusion. When we began this story, it seemed simple. Luxury cars versus regular cars, rich versus poor. But now you see, it was never about the cars. It was about what they represented. Identity, time, safety, comfort, freedom, and control. For the wealthy, cars promise status, protection, and speed, but they also bring pressure, expectations, and fragile illusions. For the poor, cars demand sacrifice, risk, and endurance, but they also forge resilience, strength, and a deeper appreciation for progress. So what's the real difference between the rich and the poor when it comes to cars? It isn't just money. It's the weight of the invisible burdens they carry, expectations on one side, survival on the other. And when the keys are turned off, when the car is silent, one truth becomes clear. The real engine of life is not under the hood. It's in the choices we make, the resilience we build, and the meaning we attach to the journey. So, let me leave you with one final question. When your own engine finally stops, what story will your ride have told about you?